To Marcus Carlson, who's got all the latest business news.
Indeed. Hi there, Chris. Hi there, everyone else. We're going to start with Peugeot Citroën, which is trying to turn its loss-making business around. The French car maker has signed a deal with the Chinese car maker Dongfeng and the French government. That's been confirmed by the French government this Tuesday. Both Dongfeng and the French state will inject 800 million euros in return for a 14% stake in Peugeot Citroën. The deal also sees one of France's oldest business dynasties lose grip of the firm, as Catherine Clifford now explains.
A family legacy dating back to 1810, when Peugeot started up as a maker of coffee grinders. Since then, a member of the car giant clan has always filled the post of chairman. But now a deal between Peugeot Citroën and China's Dongfeng would see chairman Thierry Peugeot lose his post. The rescue deal would see the Chinese automaker and French government each inject 800 million euros and take 14% stakes. The Peugeot family would then take a matching 14%, reduced from their current 25%. This would bring the family short of the hold required to veto decisions. Peugeot Citroën's among the hardest hit by a European slump in car sales, suffering a €5 billion loss in 2012. Experts say it's too dependent on the European markets.
The European market lacks support. Peugeot's found itself in fierce competition with the Germans without being able to fight back. It's not had the means to develop itself in the rest of the world.
The company's looking to diversify, and the Dongfeng deal could provide a foothold in the Asian market.
Peugeot's locked out in the European market. It doesn't have enough access to the Asian market, where there's a lot of growth.
As the Peugeot family loosens its grip on its two-decade dynasty, will this price be enough to turn Peugeot around and set it on its feet in the global markets?
Now, as you heard there, Peugeot Citroën has been suffering as sales here in Europe, when it comes to cars, have tumbled in recent years. But now the European car market is showing signs of shifting up a gear. Car sales in the European Union during January grew by more than 5% in comparison to the same month in 2013. It's the fifth month in a row that sales head higher, and it is fueling hopes that 2014 will be the year when the European car market finally turns a corner. Sales there heading higher from a low base, though. 2013 was the weakest year for around 2 decades for the European car industry. We're going to turn to Italy next. Centre-left leader Matteo Renzi has started talks there to form a new government. The centre-left leader has been tapped by Italy's president to become the next prime minister, but he needs to cobble together a stable coalition before that can happen. Renzi has set out a reform agenda seen as very ambitious. He's promised constitutional reform, as well as reforms to the labour market and the tax system. For the business perspective on this story, I spoke earlier to Annalisa Piazza from New Edge Group in London, and she told me more about the challenges ahead.
Well, he definitely needs to face a split parliament. He will have to convince the spin-off part of Forza Italia, or the Berlusconi party anyway, that is not like centering his project in a like kind of a left-wing way in order to achieve his objectives. So he will need to be very careful to do everything he can in order to achieve the majority within the parliament. It's the same kind of problems Letta had, but don't forget that Renzi was voted at a very large majority during the election in late 2013 within his party. So he has the full support, well, nearly the full support of his party, and is well seen all around the country as somebody who is able to make changes in order to achieve his objectives.
We're going to turn to the stock markets next. Here in Europe, shares in minor BHP Billiton pushed the FTSE in London higher for a third consecutive session on Tuesday. It was a different picture for the other main indices, which were pretty flat, with the Paris CAC 40 losing somewhat, whereas the Frankfurt DAX and the FTSE MIB in Milan gained somewhat, not by much though, we need to say that. In the United States, this session, shares there trading slightly higher. That's despite a disappointing report on confidence among US home builders, I should say. I got that right in the end. The Dow Jones Industrial Average is losing steam somewhat, down around about 0.1%. Let's look at some other company news, and here's one potential deal helping shares over on Wall Street. Pharmaceutical company Actavis is buying the American firm Forest Laboratories for around $25 billion. The deal is meant to boost the presence of Ireland-based Actavis in the United States. Shares in Forrester, they've been trading up by around 30% on this news. This as at least some shareholders believe that they could get a better offer. Candy Crush Saga is heading for the stock markets. The maker of the popular mobile phone game wants to float its shares on the stock markets. The Swedish company King wants to make its market debut in the United States. Analysts predict that the initial public offering could value the firm at around about 5 billion euros. Candy Crush Saga was the most downloaded free mobile phone application back in 2013. And China overtook India as the biggest consumer of gold last year. Chinese consumers bought around a third more gold during 2013 than during 2012. Analysts say demand is heading higher in China as the middle class there is growing and as there's a shortage of other investment opportunities. India, it's been at the top of the table since the 1960s. So change there when it comes to the gold markets. That's it for me for now. I'll be back in the next hour with more business news. Chris.
Thanks very much, Marcus. It's time now to say hello to Dan Levy for our sports